changed it. We will hear from the mayor tomorrow as to what it is that they do and why the display of advertising spaces, or rather signs in public view, is governed by an old piece of legislation, the Town and Country Planning Act, and not newer laws and regulations. But it was a big news over the weekend, and we needed to make sure that you were aware of it. That is the story. I'm Jody Ann Quarry. And on behalf of the entire CVM production team, thank you for watching Lead Story. Have a fantastic evening, and I hope you stay safe. Up next, CVM News.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News at Noon. It's Wednesday, May 13, 2026. I'm Akeem Oret. Up first this afternoon, a 4.4 magnitude earthquake was felt in sections of eastern Jamaica at approximately 3:19 this morning. According to the earthquake unit, the epicenter was located approximately 10 kilometers south of Albion, St. Thomas. This marks the 10th earthquake recorded by the unit for 2026. An accident took place this morning in Falmouth, Trelawney along the North Coast Highway involving a police service vehicle. It's understood the police vehicle had 5 officers inside when they came upon a puddle in which the vehicle took a skid. Our correspondent Kinsley Thompson was at the scene and now tells us more.
This is the foreshore main road that leads in and out of Falmouth. Now, early this morning, this police service vehicle across the road from me was traveling from Falmouth. We understand it had 5 officers in it, and they were heading out of Falmouth when along this roadway they came up on this water here, picked up a skid in the water here, and ran off the road, broke this utility pole, and ended up on its side right here in the swamp along the foreshore main road. What we're learning is that none of the officers were seriously injured, but they were taken to the Falmouth hospital where they're being checked out just the same. So it happened earlier today. They were heading out of Falmouth, we understand, along the foreshore main road, picked up a skid from the water, you can see, ended up in the swampy area.
And to Trinidad and Tobago we go, where their Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissesa is standing firm amid a growing regional dispute involving Caricom and Secretary General Carla Barnett. Persad-Bissesa says while Trinidad and Tobago has no intention of withdrawing from Caricom, her government will not recognize Barnett beyond the end of her current term in August 2026. The Prime Minister maintains that Barnett's reappointment was handled improperly during a regional retreat in St. Kitts and Nevis earlier this year, arguing that the matter was not formally placed on the agenda and that Trinidad and Tobago was excluded from the process. The controversy deepened following a tense virtual Caricom meeting last Friday, where the majority of member states reportedly supported Barnett's continued tenure despite objections raised by Trinidad and Tobago officials. Persad-Bissesa also accused the Caricom officials of withholding information surrounding their reappointment process and claimed Foreign Minister Sian Sobas was disinvited from the retreat through a WhatsApp message. Despite the standoff, the Prime Minister says Trinidad and Tobago remains committed to regional engagement, but is also seeking to strengthen trade ties beyond Caricom, including with markets in India, Africa, South America, and the Middle East. And to Jamaica's Parliament we return, where Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, in his sectoral debate presentation on Tuesday, shared plans to roll out a range of initiatives under his CARE program, impacting almost every area of society, including elderly care, lifestyle clinics, and family and fertility support. He says $50 million will be allocated for training of unpaid caregivers, helping to educate family members of elderly and special needs relatives, rather than leaving them on hospital wards as social cases.
This year, we'll commence a phased pilot of home-based long-term care that includes unpaid caregivers as part of the care team for older persons and persons with disabilities. During the last year, we trained some 148 community health aides. Professor Shearer will oversee a national training program for community caregivers on how to care for older persons and persons with disability. A task force will be established, including the Ministries of Labour and Social Security, local government, churches, community organizations, and aged care organizations, and their main function will be to identify persons for training, ensuring wide community participation.
Dr. Tufton says the government intends to introduce lifestyle clinics, one in each health region, to help combat lifestyle diseases, including obesity, not only offering support but finding ways to help stem the disease in households. This in addition to fertility support, which he notes have become even more crucial given Jamaica's failing birth rate.
But I believe the time has come for a conversation at the level of communities and families. Consultation with the Minister of Labour and Social Security, we propose a multi-stakeholder national task force on fertility and responsible parenting, drawing membership from health, labour, finance, education, the private sector, academia, and civil society. And the task force will produce a national fertility and family support strategy with clear targets, Madam Speaker, subject, of course, to the discussion and agreement of Cabinet. Madam Speaker, let me be clear. The government is not asking Jamaicans to have children for statistical reasons. It is committed to building conditions where family formation is genuinely affordable, structurally supported, and celebrated.
Jamaican manufacturers are bracing for more economic pressure as the war in Iran continues to drive up global oil and shipping costs. President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Catherine Silvera, says businesses are now feeling the impact through higher freight, packaging, and transportation expenses, with some of those costs now being passed on to consumers.
The longer this conflict goes on, the more sustained the pricing is going to be at a higher level. It's the longer that it's going to take to come down. It is the longer that it can affect supply chain challenges in terms of sourcing raw materials, shipping logistics, packaging costs going up as well.
In the ongoing trial of alleged gang leader Tesha Miller and his 24 co-accused, the presiding judge, Justice Dale Palmer, on Tuesday denied a submission made by the Crown to allow the recording of a phone conversation in the robbery with aggravation and murder of Zamari Mackay. Calaram Dean was in court and now reports.
Arose during the testimony of a police constable who told the court that on August 10, 2022, he was asleep at home when a relative came to wake him, appearing worried about a family member called Craig, who the witness also identified as the deceased Zamari Mackay. The witness said he immediately tried calling Craig, but the call went to voicemail. He told the court he had seen and spoken to Craig in person just 3 to 4 hours earlier. The constable said another attempt was later made by his relative to contact him. This time the phone was answered, and after his relative spoke briefly with someone, then the phone was handed to him. The witness testified that he heard an unfamiliar male voice and became suspicious. He also recalled hearing Craig's voice along with other men. After the call, the witness said he drove with his relative and another member to Spanish Town Police Station, where a missing persons report was filed. The Crown then sought to go into the content of the phone call. They argued that the contents of the phone call were relevant because they formed a part of the sequence of events surrounding Mackay's disappearance and death. Prosecutors further submitted that the conversation impacted the witness's frame of mind and explained why he went to the police station. They also maintained that sufficient foundation had been laid for the witness to recognize Mackay's voice. But defense attorney Kimberly Whitaker objected, arguing that the proper foundation had not been established to identify McKay's voice during the call. She submitted that no evidence had been led as to who the other individuals were. Before making his ruling, the judge questioned the probative value of the witness's state of mind. The Crown argued that the conversation was a precursor to McKay's death and impacted the witness's state of mind that day, adding the evidence is not for the truth, as that will come out in evidence as other witnesses will be called to support that aspect. The defense further argued that admitting the evidence at this stage would introduce hearsay, deprive the defense of the opportunity to properly test the evidence through cross-examination, and potentially prejudice the defendants. The judge ruled that more evidence was needed before the material could be admitted. The judge explained that it remained unclear who the witness spoke to besides McKay, how the unidentified person sounded, and how the conversation specifically impacted the witness's state of mind. He added that while the witness's actions and reasons for going to the police may later become relevant, he would err on the side of caution until further evidence is presented by the Crown. The evidence relates to counts 28 and 29, robbery with aggravation, and the murder of Zamari McKay. The men charged under these counts are the accused Carlos Williams, Jermaine Clark, and Owen Billings. The alleged Klansman leader Tesha Miller and 24 co-accused are indicted under 32 counts under the Criminal Justice Suppressions of Criminal Organization
Testing 1,
Act.
2, 3.
The trial continues on Wednesday at the Supreme Court in downtown Kingston. Carla Ramdeen, CVM News.
And we take a break here inside CVM News at Noon, but stay with us. Our live interview comes up next.
Once a month, you have the power to shape Jamaica's future. By paying your hard 3% contribution, you're not just contributing, you're investing in people, in skills, in our economy. Your hard contribution trains working-age Jamaicans, aligns programs with workforce needs, and secures our future. That's not just contribution, it's transformation. Contribute to heart and to your future.
Me and the stylist, no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress. You charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. Social transformation and renewal, the stated ambitions of the development initiative created by the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force to bring about societal transformation through targeted interventions in under-resourced areas of Jamaica, with the community itself driving the change. Launched in 2022, the program is nearing the completion of its 4th year, so what we did, we thought you'd like to hear more about the impact that has been made to people's lives and community development across that time, and fortunately, the Project STAR team have allowed us to interrupt their retreat to do just that. Thank you for joining us, Project Director for Project STAR, Safri Brown. Good afternoon, Ms. Brown.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for having us today.
So it looks like the STAR team are hard at work there with you. So can you tell us about the journey you've been on together these past 4 years?
Sure. So as you mentioned, Project STAR was launched in 2022. And we've been spending the last few years working in 5 communities across Jamaica. If you know of the work that we do, you know we're in 2 communities in Kingston, in Rose Gardens and Parade Gardens. We are in Maypen West in Clarendon. We are in Savannah Lamar in Westmoreland. And we're also working in Salt Spring in Montego Bay. And the aim of the program is really to improve the social and economic outcomes at the community level, but really using a methodology that is kind of community-led and evidence-based. So Project STAR's work is really rooted in what community needs are, but it is driven by the community. And so we go through quite a lengthy process with communities to look at data, to look at what the data is saying, to validate that with communities and identify what the issues are, and that for the communities to then set their priorities. And then once they set their priorities, they develop what they call a community transformation action plan. And so we're actually here at our retreat today. As you said, we're coming to the end of year 4 because what we're doing is we're reviewing how the project has done in the communities based on the community transformation action plans that the community set, but also now establishing what are the activities that need to happen in year 5, again, based on what's in the community transformation action plan. And so that's what the team has been doing for the last 2 days. We're actually here at the Police Commissioner's office. They have a great meeting facility here that we use. And as you know, Project STAR is an initiative of the JCF. And so we've been here for the last few days. If you want, I can get the team to say hi. Hold on a sec.
Sure thing.
Team, say hi.
Everybody forward!
So they're geared up and ready for year 5. We're really excited about what we've been doing. We really talk through the things that are working, the things that are not working, the things that we're doing well, the things that we need to strengthen and improve to then set the priorities and the activities for year 5.
So as you mentioned, Ms. Brown, Project STAR's work in communities like, the Parade Gardens, Rose Gardens, Salt Springs, Savlamar, and Maypen had specific and targeted outcomes. Which community, though, has seen the most dramatic shift, whether it be security-wise or relating to community engagement, social transformation?
Well, each community has different priorities and they have different areas that really need to be addressed in a substantial way. So if you look at, all the communities that we go into, when we go into them, they would have had a trajectory of very high levels of crime. And we're seeing, massive drops in all of them. Most recently, in our communities in Maypen West, we're seeing a 46% drop in crime. The year before, we would have seen 80% in Parade Gardens. So we're seeing those kinds of results. And that's also keeping in train with the overall trend nationally around reducing crime. But we're seeing that we're getting, working with the police and all the other stakeholders, some really high reductions. Another area, and this also came out of the priority planning process, is weak family structures is what communities have identified as one of their top issues. This was before crime and unemployment and these sorts of things. They recognize that family strengthening is really where you needed to embed community change. And so what we're seeing in a number of the communities in Savannah, Lamar, Rose Gardens, Parade Gardens is really strong parenting groups and parenting structures developing. And then we do that in tandem with some of the schools. So we work with a Holy Family around a behavioral change program, really addressing the issues that young people face at a certain sort of development stage of their life, but then including within that framework parents, community and school within the child's development. And so we're seeing a lot of that work. But some of the biggest sort of improvements outside of those kinds of indicators is we're seeing real community-led action. Our community governance structures are really doing well. A lot of the work that we're going to be doing in year 5, and this is one of the things that the team just reported on, is whereas before STAR had to lead a lot of the activity.
Ms. Brown, you're breaking up. We're not hearing you so clearly. But I know Hurricane Melissa was like October 28, 2026.
Yes.
How did that impact Project STAR's ongoing initiatives in Western communities specifically?
Sure. So our facilities are in the West and were very, very badly affected. What was good is because, again, we're place-based and we have the relationships in the community, we were able to move in straight away to do analysis and assessment of what's happening in the communities. So within 48 hours, our team was out there doing the assessments in Salt Spring and in Savannah Lamar. And within 72 hours, we were out there with relief response. But remember, our response was very targeted and direct on what the needs were. So initially, we moved straight into meals and food packages. We then moved very quickly into relief items around housing and tarpaulins and roof repairs and these sorts of things. But then very quickly after that, in a partnership with UNDP, we worked into what we call a Cash for Care and Cash for Work program, which was to try and get people back into work very quickly, but have that work help with the cleanup efforts of the debris and getting these communities back to a state of, being in a livable way. And also Cash for Care, which is where there was some elderly people and people who were very, very badly affected. And therefore, we were able to provide check-in caregivers for about 6 weeks to just go in and check on them and make sure they were okay. So at that point of the highest vulnerability, when everybody is reeling and the social services are very overstretched, we were able to have a targeted response. And then the other one that we then moved on very quickly was our entrepreneurship. So the Restart entrepreneurship program, which got people got them their stock, their equipment, got them back into their businesses very quickly. And with the Canada Fund for Local Initiatives, we were also able to then go and deliver a Restart program for education and working in some of the schools that, again, needed some of those inputs. They'd lost all their equipment, they'd lost all their school books and their papers, and the students didn't have any equipment or supplies anymore. We were able to do that, do a little bit of infrastructural work. And then overall, the overall relief efforts were really supported by private sector. A lot of water tanks that we were able to deliver. American Friends of Jamaica came in and really provided a huge amount of support. So we were able to respond immediately, and there was no kind of pause in the work that was done. But what it meant was that the programming had to pivot, and it was really only in February that we were able to move back into our employment, our formal employment training, our entrepreneurship training, really working around the strengthening of families and so on. So, but because of the STAR model, we were able to adjust